Good morning, everybody. This is Sean. Thought I would go a different direction, just on my own today. So Andrew and I are coming back with a review tomorrow. We're going to pick up with Superman a bit, but we kind of seem to be pushing towards the reviews of sort of superheroes, crime, and the crazy. And I was watching some, I guess, true crime stuff, and I've always wanted to just sort of maybe stream watch it, have people comment, and discuss it with me. I have a free morning. And I came across this Michael Dunn murder trial case. And I know this happened, I think it was about 2013, possibly 2014, might have been before. And the story goes, Michael Dunn, coming back from a wedding with his fiance, stops at a gas station. His partner, his fiance of 6 months, wanted to buy a bottle of wine. Now, he pulled up, and in a Dodge Durango were three teenagers who were playing their music really loud. And the way the story goes, and you can look this up, there's a good website or YouTube channel that really does a good job of outlining the story, called JCS Criminology, Psychology, something to that effect. But in it, effectively, what happens is he asks them to turn the music down, and they do. One of the passengers in the back seat, whilst their friend is in the shop getting stuff along with his wife. So the guy, it's a Dodge Durango who are playing the loud music, and the gentleman, Michael Dunn, is in the car. So what ends up happening is he asks them to turn it down. Words are exchanged. They turn it up. He believes they say, "I'm going to fucking kill you." He says he believes they had a gun and they were coming for him. He's got a concealed carry permit, and then unloads 3 shots into the car. The driver very quickly backs up and speeds off. And as he's speeding off, Michael Dunn gets out of the car, gets in a shooting stance, and fires another 3 shots. In the back seat, I'll have to double check the name of the victim, was murdered. Michael Dunn, his wife comes out hearing the shots, says, "What's happened?" They get in the car, start driving back. He doesn't necessarily say anything straight away, but says to his partner that, I believe it was something to the effect of, they threatened my life, and I got them before they got me, or that they were coming after me and I shot them. Doesn't call the police, goes straight back to the hotel that they were staying at. They order pizza, and ends up, I think the next morning, his fiance sees that one of the teenagers in the Dodge Durango was murdered, and they both realize that, yeah, this was you that was doing it. I think he said on, the day before to his partner, I shot at the side of their car, and they ran off. So they didn't really know they'd murdered anybody at that point, or he had murdered anybody. And I find this a fascinating case because this does, I think it's a really interesting commentary on guns in America as well, but also how people who maybe have a proper concealed carry license can use and abuse, let's say, a weapon, even if they've gone down the proper channels of getting a weapon. But this is something I want to analyze and see, because the jury, from what I understand, wasn't necessarily straightforward 10-1 or 10-0 victory. There was a lot of debate in the jury room, and I wanted to watch this from start to finish. So what I'm going to be doing periodically is streaming the interrogation, and streaming and watching and commenting on some of the interviews, and maybe even some of the parts of the court case. So I'm just going to get started and watch and comment. If you want to comment, please do. And it's something I'll keep coming back to time and time again. Again, tomorrow night, we're going to be reviewing Superman live, and I will be releasing them in smaller segments with Dixon being live with me. So let's watch.
You do answer questions. You have the right to stop answering questions at any time and consult with a lawyer. Okay. Do you understand those rights?
Yes, sir.
Okay. If you could just sign where it says signature, and by signing there, you're just acknowledging that I went over your rights with you and that you do understand your rights.
So it's my understanding that he ended up getting arrested. He never actually called the cops. His neighbor works in law enforcement, and in the trial, he said, I'm going to call, or he said he called his neighbor to see what to do. Apparently, his neighbor actually called him. And when he got back to Jacksonville, where he lives, he was arrested. So he knows he's murdered somebody. He knows he's being brought in. Apparently, his partner had said on the drive back that he said very little outside of "I love you" over and over. And when he got back, he was arrested. So he had an expectation that something may happen, I believe. So he realizes he's in a bit of deep shit. And his defense is very much he was in fear for his life, and that's why he reacted.
What's your birthday? And what's your current home address? You have a cell phone? Where do you currently work at? How long you been working for them? How long you been working for them? You from this area originally, or?
You a Vikings fan?
I was, and then when I lived in California, I was a 49ers fan, and now I'm a Bucs fan. And the Jaguars.
Yeah, none of us are Jaguars fans. No.
Okay, I've got to question his allegiance to his football teams. Was a 49ers fan, now a Buccaneers fan.
Anybody who plays the Dolphins.
Okay, I can live with that.
And this is the police very much trying to keep it light, keep him relaxed, so maybe he's talking.
Obviously, just kind of
is what
want
I'm
to talk to you
thinking.
about what occurred last night up in Jacksonville. But I'd like to kind of back up to when did you come to Jacksonville?
So apologies. I guess the murder was in Jacksonville.
What was the
I thought he lived
reason
in
you came
Jacksonville.
to Jacksonville?
My son was getting married on Friday.
Oh, okay. He was getting married on Friday.
Yeah, and we have a small dog that we were going to travel with,
Mhm.
and the check-in time was right around the time of the wedding on Friday, so we thought we'd go up early
Mhm.
on Thursday just to be there already.
Okay. What time was the? So you came up Thursday. Where were y'all staying?
We were staying at the Sheraton.
Okay. Do you remember where?
It's crazy to think how this is so pedestrian. I can picture myself being in a situation, not shooting anybody, of course, but going to a wedding, going for a bottle of wine. And then 24 hours later, you're in an interrogation room and facing potential long-term jail sentence, which he's smart enough. He must realize that there is a possibility that this goes in a direction in which he loses his freedom for the better part of his life, which effectively for some people is a death sentence.
Deerfield, but I'm
Sheridan off Deerfield?
Yes.
Okay. Friday, just, what time was the wedding at?
4.
4? Okay. So during the day, you're just getting prepped up for that, getting ready for that. Where's the wedding at?
Is there Orange Park? Is that someplace close by?
Yeah.
It was Orange Park. An old house.
An old house.
70s house right on the
On the water?
Yeah.
Okay.
Very nice ceremony.
Okay. About how long do you stay there?
I don't know, but we were on our way back to the hotel when we stopped at that store.
Okay. And let me back up for a second, just back to today. Let me just so I can verify a couple. Are you you take any prescriptions or anything like that? Any kind of?
I do, but it's anti-inflammatory for my lower back.
Lower back pain. Okay. You never been diagnosed with any kind of mental health issues or anything like that?
That's right.
Okay.
Making sure there wasn't any medicinal reason as to why he did such a fucked up thing.
I'm good upstairs.
Okay.
I'm a computer programmer.
Okay.
Computer programmer.
Any alcohol or drugs today?
No, sir.
Okay. Just have to make sure. I just kind of want to make sure you and
So
I.
he's
can
got
just
his shit
have a
together.
lucid conversation.
So there should be no issue.
I don't have much sleep.
You don't have to tell us.
Reading the news reports, what the aftermath was. I didn't sleep very well last night.
Okay.
It's good that he feels guilty 24 hours later. I guess. Not right the night when he found out he killed somebody.
Okay, so you go to the wedding, and you guys are headed back to the hotel. Do you remember the route you were coming? Do you know the name of the roads that you're on, or
On my phone.
you just follow the directions on the phone? Okay.
I do the same thing.
And
Google
you
Maps.
decided-
95, get off on wherever.
The Google Maps, I'm finding that, and this kind of goes back to using mobile phones, I'm kind of forgetting how to navigate myself because I'm so dependent on Google Maps.
95 up to probably Bay Meadows,
That sounds familiar.
and then hang a left on South Side, I think, or you keep going on Bay Meadows. I'm trying to remember.
I think we, whatever road we were on, we went straight until we turned down to Deerfield.
Okay. So you pull into the gas station. Okay. What was the purpose of stopping at the gas station? So just kind of walk me through, just tell me from your point of view, what you guys pull up. You're driving, it's your car, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and you're driving?
Yes, sir.
Okay, it's a Volkswagen, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. She's sitting in the passenger seat, no one else in the car with you, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Just kind of walk me through kind of what happened at that point.
Well, I'm embarrassed to say this, but got out. She's in the store, and there's like a SUV next to us, and then the music starts, and I roll down my window, and I thought I was polite. I asked them nicely, I didn't demand it, or else I said, "Hey, would you guys mind turning that down?"
Now this is nitpicking a bit, but I did watch a bit of I did see a bit of stuff on this, and there was somebody else that was interviewed in the trial who I think got there before he did, and they asked him, "Okay, did you see the Dodge Durango?" He said, "Yes." They asked the gentleman, "Did you pull into that empty space?" He said, "No, I parked somewhere else because of the loud music. I didn't want to be anywhere near that." So I think the loud music was playing when he pulled up. So I think it is significant that he did pull up right next to the Dodge Durango. Now, I'm not saying I don't know if there was other parking spaces he could have chosen at the time. There may very well not have been, but one sort of discrepancy from what he said, from what other witnesses have said, is that the music was playing.
And they shut it off. I was like, "Thank you." Cordial. Everything's cordial. I put my window back up. I'm doing my stuff. And I don't know how many kids are in that, but the windows are down for the back seat. The windows are up for the front seat.
Okay.
And the guy that was in the back is getting really agitated. And my window's up. I can't hear everything he's saying, but, you know, there's a lot of fuck him and fuck that and fuck that bitch. And then the music comes back on, and you know, I'm just like, live and let live, and you know, don't need any trouble.
He loves rap music,
and I don't know if they're singing or what, but it's like they're saying kill him. So I put my window down again, and I said, "Excuse me, are you talking about me?" And it was like, kill that bitch. And you know, I'm still not reacting, but then this guy like goes down on the ground and comes up with something. I thought it was a shotgun, and he goes, "You're dead, bitch," and he opens his door, and I'm shitting bricks. But that's when I reached in my glove box, unholstered my pistol. I mean, I practiced this. I'm at the Fort Malabar rifle and pistol range. I'm an avid, you know, gun guy and all that. No.
So I'm just thinking about this because he's got his holstered gun in his glove box or glove compartment, and he sees somebody coming up with a barrel, and in that time, he goes in. So he's reaching over. He opens his glove compartment. He gets the gun. He unholsters it. There's a lot of time that's elapsing in this, you know, in this scenario here. If he's got somebody who's approaching him with the gun, I'm just thinking about the mechanics of having to get a gun. It just seems like it's not necessarily an instantaneous thing in which he's, you know, just almost like throwing a punch. You know, you protect yourself, you throw a punch. It's a reaction. It's almost like a reflex. This is not a reflex.
Military training or anything, but I have friends who are in the military that show me the
proper way.
Yes, and so
to shoot people, yes, the proper way to shoot someone.
Quicker in the flash, I had a round chambered in it, and I shot.
Okay.
He said a round. He shot. I believe he shot. Was it 3? He shot 3 times into the back seat, 2 times into the front seat, the passenger side, and then it was 3 times as the car was driving away.
Do you remember how many times you shot?
4.
Okay.
No, 9 or 10.
Keep walking me through kind of what you remember.
I shot 4 times, and
4. Sorry about that.
And that SUV pulled out, and like I said, in my mind, they got a gun, and
so I live in the United Kingdom, and that's somebody saying, "I want your scrap metal," just in case you're curious.
You know, not training, just from, I was still scared, and so I shot 4 more times as they were fleeing. Yeah, trying to keep their heads down to not catch any return fire.
Okay.
This all sounds like he's envisioning a film. So people are driving away, and I guess in his mind, he feels like, as you would see in Beverly Hills Cop, he's trying to keep them down from shooting as they're driving away.
All right. And then
And that was it. I mean, I still didn't feel safe. I thought, there was another car. I didn't know. I mean, I'm in a strange town, in a strange area. I just had my life threatened. The love of my life is in the store. And she doesn't know what's going on. She come outside to see what was up. And I was just like, get in the car. We have to go.
It must have been a proud moment for her.
I just didn't feel safe there. In fact, we had plans, in fact, a fairly expensive bed and breakfast paid for in St. Augustine. And, after what happened last night, and we were like, we have to go home and call the local sheriff and tell him what's up.
Well, where'd you go after?
We went right to our room.
You went right to the hotel?
Yeah.
Okay.
Didn't leave. We were just like
in the hotel room?
bricks waiting for another carload of thugs to come. I mean,
I find it troubling because there's this narrative here that there's thugs driving around with guns just ready to shoot white people. Or maybe he thought they were getting the rest of their gang and on their way back. I think this is all kind of maybe a load of shit, or he's making excuses for the fact that at some point he's going to have to answer the question as to why you didn't call the cops, why you didn't call the cops and wait around since you were exchanging gunfire, which I appreciate guns are quite prevalent in the United States, but that's not a minor thing. It's not something that, it's not like you got in a pushing match with somebody. You exchanged gunfire, or at least as far as you're aware. There was no exchange. Just to be clear, he was the only one shooting.
I'd never been so scared in my life for somebody to be, I thought they were singing, like, you're going to die, bitch. I thought that, and then it's getting a little louder.
I wonder if he's starting to build this excuse or maybe some sort of, plausible deniability of some sort that he mistakenly heard them singing along versus threatening him. That never comes to pass, but that was just the first thing that crossed my mind when he said that.
That's when I put my window down and was like, are you talking about me?
I'm picturing him rehearsing the Clint Eastwood line in his mirror with his gun the first day he had it. Is that Clint Eastwood? You talking to me?
Might
be getting that wrong.
You're dead, bitch. Okay. So I went over this a million times, and what I should have done is put the car in reverse. But a shotgun come up or whatever, it was fight or flight. I don't think there was any time for flight at that moment. I was going to get shot.
Okay. So they pull out, as you said, you shoot to kind of keep their heads down as they're pulling out. That kind of your intention. That's your thought process.
They have a shotgun aimed at me, and I don't want them shooting it.
Okay. And then gets in the car, you guys.
So shotgun, I'm going to go back just a second there. He said something about a shotgun aimed at him. So what are we on here? We're on 1029. He just said he saw a barrel coming up.
As they're pulling out, that kind of your intention.
That's your thought process. They have a shotgun aimed at me, and I don't want them shooting it.
So he did say I have a shotgun aimed at me, which is a slight departure from I saw a barrel coming up and started shooting. So don't know whether he's making this up or he genuinely believes this. He's changed the storyline in his head.
And then gets in the car, you guys leave and drive and go back to the hotel room. Okay. And you guys just stayed in the hotel room at that point? Did you go anywhere else?
No, we ordered out. We got pizza.
Pizza. Did you And what time did you check out this morning?
Still hasn't called the cops.
When you called early this morning, we had just got home,
Mm-hmm.
and I unpacked a few bags,
Mm-hmm.
and where our neighbor just down the way is a real good friend of ours, and he's in the government in some capacity.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he's in law enforcement. I don't know which branch.
Right.
But we were going to go, talk to him, and,
Mm-hmm.
and like, do you know anybody in the sheriff's department that we could talk to? Because, I didn't want it to happen the way it did. The way it did is sheriff came with AR-15s, and so I was trying to avoid that.
Yeah.
And, it's like, I give up. But that's where you called
Mm-hmm.
when I was out the door to go.
He wanted to be arrested like a white guy, casually driven or given the opportunity to just, if you get a time, can you come on in so we can interview about this? Not AR-15s from somebody who has just opened fire in public into a fleeing car.
Unbeknownst to me, I didn't know at the time that they'd actually been, they were actually responding before I even got on the phone to them. So when you and I were talking, unbeknownst to me, they were already alerted to your presence there. So.
Well, maybe my neighbor. Oh.
I don't know.
Yeah, because, I told me.
Right. That's why I said I was being honest with you when I said I'll give you 5 minutes to, kind of, like you said I'll be out the door in 5 minutes. I said, okay. The gun, is it your gun?
Yes, it's a gun I've had since like 1990.
Okay. What kind is it?
It's a Taurus, 1892.
Okay. You know what caliber?
9mm.
9mm?
I wonder what that looks like.
Do you normally keep it in your glove box?
Always.
Always in your glove box? And you said you kept it holstered?
Yeah, it's a holster that's for inside the waistband, but I'm a little heavy. I used to carry it, but I'm too heavy.
So I just keep it in the glove box?
In the glove box.
Okay. Where is that gun now?
It's in my glove box.
It's still in the glove box. Okay. In your car. And your car is at your residence currently, is that correct?
Sure.
Okay. How many, do you normally keep it fully loaded? Okay, you keep it fully loaded but not chambered. You had to chamber it?
I don't. My military friends think I'm an idiot, but I just don't.
Okay, no, that's what I'm saying. You normally don't keep it chambered. You knew you'd have to rack one to put one in the chamber.
Yes, it's a.
So I think that's interesting. I didn't realize that. So he didn't have a bullet chambered. So not only did he have to go into the glove box, get the gun out, he then had to get it out of the holster and then chamber a bullet. And I think this is when I did a search, this was the gun that came up. I've never really fired outside. I have fired a shotgun before at just skeet shooting, but I've never even fired a handgun. So I don't know. Chambering it may just be a matter of pulling the, cocking the gun and the revolver will load the bullet into the chamber, or whether he needs to have bullets put into the chamber. I don't know. That's something I may look up before we stream next.
Practice.
Right.
Maneuver.
Right. No, I know. I'm aware. I know. I know you're in a strange town, and you had this traumatic event happen to you, and I can understand that. Okay. The problem, I can tell you, where we start to kind of get a little wondering is, by the time you say you get to your hotel room, you're calling to order pizza. Why aren't you calling us?
Yeah, that's something that when I first heard this, I thought he was he was so I don't know if there's a few things that are happening here. One of which, he knows he's in deep shit and he's just avoiding it and hoping it goes away. He's got an appetite. Pizza is good. I will attest to how important pizza is, especially when you're on vacation. He's probably trying to salvage something because he just tried to shoot somebody, and that would put a damper on a vacation, sure. But yeah, to not call the cops to order pizza You know, his priorities are on hunger and being satisfied, not necessarily on the events of the day. There's full on avoidance here at this stage.
I wanted to come back to my hometown to do that, and our dog and everybody.
Yeah, but he the next day after his pizza, casual drive back. Yeah, he see his dog whenever he's ready. He could go back and deal with it in his hometown tonight. But again, shooting at a car is a fairly innocuous thing to him.
Where they needed to be. I didn't want to bring a shitstorm down on them in Jacksonville.
Okay.
Yet he stayed in Jacksonville an extra night. I mean, he must be listening to himself say this, and it just must sound like a big load of shit to him.
Well, I mean, it wouldn't. They haven't. I mean, they're not anything to be worried about. She hasn't.
True.
You know, it's not like, you know, she's there.
Yeah.
There's nothing she did wrong.
I was, you know, I shouldn't even left the scene.
Yeah.
But I left the scene because I was still afraid for.
Okay, and I can live with that. Okay, I can live with that. You don't.
He left the scene because he was afraid, but once he left the scene, he was no longer afraid. No longer an issue.
Necessarily want to hang around right where the shooting happened because you don't know if these guys are coming back. I'm good with.
Or if there are more.
You know, but once you leave and you are away from that scene, and you've even gotten to a hotel room and inside your hotel room at that point, you know, now makes me wonder, you know, because if you make a phone call, one, we find out, you know, a lot quicker what's going on. Okay. The reason he and I haven't been to sleep since sometime yesterday is because we're trying to figure out, all we know is we got a dead kid in a car. Okay.
This guy is not a stupid individual. You know, I do like true crime stuff. And I have seen interviews of other people who've been convicted of murder, shooting somebody, who are genuinely dumb, and don't realize what they're saying or how they're saying it. I don't think he's an idiot. And I just can't, for the life of me, I think he must have spent those sort of 12 to 24 hours before he was arrested trying to litigate in his mind some way that this is justifiable, not going to the police, having pizza, just chilling out. I wonder if they did get the bottle of wine.
Okay. And we got a guy who shot and hauled ass. That's all we know. You see what I'm saying?
I do, and just me to call you guys last night, and I was insistent on waiting until we got around people we knew.
Okay. I mean,
not around his son or family, just people he knew outside of his family.
That's where we start to get a little concerned. It starts to be, you know, we can speak that I personally have had a case with an individual who was moving to Jacksonville, first day in Jacksonville, and got involved in an incident and felt threatened and shot another person and was in their car. And he drove across the street to another parking lot and got on the phone with 911 immediately and started walking police into where he was.
You would think from a cover your ass perspective, if I unloaded bullets and if I thought it was justifiable, the first thing, I am sorry about that. It's too warm for me to shut the window. The first thing I would want to do is find the safest place to call the police so that I can let them know, listen, I need to let you know what's going on. Seriously. They haven't been around in a month, and this is the first live stream I've done, and now they're there. But first thing I would do, we need to find somewhere to call the cops. This is something I need to make sure that I'm covering myself, because, you know, this could be misconstrued here.
You know, that's the way
I have nothing to say other than
So other problems that we have too. When you began to shoot, can you honestly tell us that you ever saw a gun inside that vehicle?
I saw a barrel come up on the window.
So they know, I'm suspecting that they obviously know that there was no gun. I don't even think there was anything that can be construed as a barrel. So they're starting to tighten up the pressure on this narrative just to see if he's lying or if he didn't see something correctly. But I don't believe at this stage. I think they understand that there wasn't anything in the car that they have seen. I'm sure they're going to go back and double check, but there was nothing in the car they'd seen that even closely represented a gun.
Like a single shot shotgun where there's a barrel. I didn't see this part of the barrel. I saw that part of the barrel, and it was either a barrel or a stick. But sir, they're like, we're gonna kill you, and then they say, you're dead, bitch. I mean, I didn't wait to look to see if they were gonna point it at me. He reached down and picked it up, and
You
then
say who reached down and picked it up?
well, hopefully it's the guy that I hit. Though it
Where
was
was he sitting when he reached
he
down
was
and picked
sitting
it
in
up?
the rear passenger side,
Okay.
and that's the guy that was really agitated. And then that's the guy that I asked, are you talking about you're going to kill me? Like I said, I didn't know what, my window is up. He was saying a lot, but that's what came through. And
By the way, it could be a Taurus P92, so maybe that's the gun. That looks more what I would envision. And I don't know what it would entail to chamber it. I can see there's a clip there. If anybody's watching this and knows more about guns, I'd love to hear about it.
I put my window down to ask him.
And the music is still playing at this time?
And yes, but he is really loud and really animated.
Louder than the music that's bothering you?
Yes, well, the music was a nuisance at first. With my car shut and the windows up, and you just hear the heavy bass. And like I said, I just said, hey, would you mind turning it down? And they did. They shut it off, which, I said, thanks. But it really wasn't an issue of loud music. It was an issue of them threatening my life.
Which I wonder if the detectives are saying, if the music was so loud that it was bothering you, how can you be sure of what he said in the background? Especially since he was saying the lyrics were something to the effect of kill that bitch or something along those lines, or kill him or something. So much so that he had to clarify whether it was the person in the back saying that or the music.
But it started from you.
Absolutely, and that's when I started
And the
telling you
music
guys
was
I'm
playing when
good.
you pulled up?
No, it was not.
It was not?
No, it wasn't in the car, and she'd been gone for a little bit. She wasn't in the store very long.
I shouldn't. I say she's not in there very long.
Like we said, there's some issues that we have. I'll be the first to tell you there's no weapons in the car. I don't know what you saw.
That's possible. When they drove off, they dumped it.
They never left the parking lot.
Yeah, they drove out, circled right back around, and came right back to that spot.
Oh, okay, because
They circled around until they saw you leave, and then they drove right back because they saw you leave at that point.
So they were afraid of him. He was the aggressor. So from their perspective, they waited until he left and they felt safe. So I think the narrative is a bit different from their perspective than it is for him. He's viewing this as they're the thugs, and they're viewing him as the dangerous entity in this.
Leave and they realized their friend had been hit. So they never left the parking
And they
lot.
came right back at that point.
okay. Well,
And if they had dumped a rifle or a shotgun, it should be rather easy to find. It's not like a small weapon. We're talking something that's quite long. So I don't think they've ever made the argument, or during this trial he ever made the argument that they actually had a gun, because it would be impossible to hide it in the car or dump it quickly and turn around and double back.
I don't know what to tell you.
Here's what has to happen. I know that from your position right now that you're going to do everything to protect yourself. And I can't say that I blame you for that. But we're going to need the total truth.
I think this is rapport building from some of the stuff I've seen, trying to really get him to open up. So identifying with him, I understand you're trying to defend yourself, making sure that he's still communicating. I think he could still lawyer up at this point, which I don't understand why. If I was in this position, let's just say hypothetically, I was in this position, I would never be in this position ever. But if I was, I would want to make sure I'm covering my ass here because this looks funny. I would say I really need to speak to a lawyer. Maybe he has. I thought the second he lawyers up, as they say, they can't question him anymore. Not until he sees a lawyer.
As to what happened, not this story that I've had from 7:30 last night till 12 o'clock today to fix up. Okay, because the only thing that's going to make sense to us is the truth matching the scene. And there was the biggest problem we got, the first hurdle we got to get over is that there is no weapon in that truck.
Did he have a stick? Because he stuck something up.
I'll double check it. I don't recall seeing anything like that, really. But I'll double check it. I'll look again. But we, obviously our main thing is when we're going through, we're looking for kind of weapons.
What I find interesting is I'm inclined to believe he somehow not fabricated. I don't think he's lying that he believes there was something. Because again, I think he's a smart guy. He may be doing something really stupid, but to make something up like that, it would have been easier to make up something like a handgun or something to that effect. But to make up a shotgun and to ask, it was are you sure there wasn't anything there? It seems like it's a waste of time from his perspective. It's a wasted narrative because it's so easy to discount. And I wonder if he actually, in his mind, has invented this barrel in his mind. He's had plenty of time to sort of relitigate this in his mind. And he's trying to find a narrative that works for him. I don't know if you've ever been in trouble as a kid or even as an adult with your wife. Whenever you are in the shit, as an immature person, you are making arguments for yourself. You are trying to spin things in a way that suit your narrative. And he had the better part of 12 to 24 hours to do this. And when, and I think we'll watch it later, when his partner was giving testimony and also being interviewed, he didn't say anything about a gun then. He said that they threatened me and they were coming after me, but nothing about a gun. I think that would be quite a headline piece that you would want to highlight to your partner. They pulled out a gun on me. That would be the first thing that I would say. You want, if it was my wife, I'd want to give her buy-in to the fact that I didn't just unload this gun that's been sitting in my glove box for however, many years. I'd want to have a good reason so that it wasn't me just shooting at people. So it's an interesting one, whether he intentionally created this story or whether he actually believes it. I think he actually has convinced himself that there was something there. And I think he's changed that narrative in his mind. I'm not a body language expert or anything like that, but it's the only thing that makes sense to me.
Evidence of a weapon, shell casing.
Well, the second problem we have is that the last set of rounds, when the truck is backing away from you, and you put 4 more sets in it, 4 more shots into it, that's an issue. Because now, if it's backing away, it's no longer a threat.
Yes, sir. I understand that. In my mind, they had a weapon.
See, and this is where I think when we take a look at weapons, guns making us safe. So we need more guns in the street to make us safe. We have people like him, decision makers like him, who aren't trained in stressful situations. So if I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt, he is acting irrationally, and he's not making sound decisions from the perspective of somebody who is using a gun to protect themselves. I think even police, we've seen over the last 4 or 5 years, with all of this body camera footage coming out from police who are shooting people. I don't think a lot of those shootings are necessarily down to them being violent people. I think it's just down to them being poorly trained and making decisions, in self-preservation. I'm not saying that's the case with Michael Dunn at all. I don't think it's the case. However, that being said, I think when we look at, guns protecting people, I think there's going to be more instances, and it's difficult to look this up. statistically. It's difficult to look at the data as far as what was a good killing and bad killing as far as self-preservation. However, I think most of the time the average Michael Dunn just doesn't have the training to process the appropriateness of a measured response. When are you safe? When is the threat neutralized? Because using a gun is quite a final thing. It's not like I don't know, brandishing a knife, because somebody can easily evade it. Not easily evade a knife, but it's much more easy for somebody to run away from a knife than it is a gun. Bullets are faster than you. So this really, for me, highlights how problematic guns can be in let's say high volumes of circulation, because how well trained are these people? I mean, if the police aren't trained to the degree that they probably should be, in my view, to be able to deal with these, quick decisions. And a lot of Navy SEALs, I have a friend who's a Navy SEAL, who he would agree that your average citizen who has gone to the gun range and has had the average amount of training is not mentally able to deal with the decision making that comes with protecting yourself with a gun at the moment. There's very few instances where it's a black and white thing. And the same goes for the police as well.
I can't shoot someone because in my mind they had a weapon. And that's the problem. I mean, if I walked up to someone right now and I'm having a conversation with them and I think they have a weapon, the law doesn't allow me to shoot him because I think he has a weapon. I think you would have a hard time arguing with your statute versus any one of them that they could get out and beat you up.
And that's a scary thought. If, let's say, what the detective here says is incorrect, the idea that I can shoot anyone because I think they have a weapon or I think they're going to shoot me. How many people would just use that as an argument in court and just be, oh, well, that's what you thought, then fair enough, you're free to go.
Well, there's 4 of them.
Even the 4 of them. I think you would have a hard time arguing that the 4 of them could have done anything to you.
At this stage, I think he's realizing he's a bit fucked right now, because nothing he has said and no evidence to, there's been no evidence that has come to pass that has backed up anything that's going to help him.
Let me ask you this: when you pulled your gun out, say you're sitting in your driver's seat like that, straight ahead. How did you shoot? Did you shoot one-handed? Did you shoot two-handed?
Two-handed, like
two-handed, like this. You come across your body. Okay, and you shoot the first. What you said, 4 shots is what you remember.
So thinking about this too, he's in his car. So I've got to think about things differently because I've lived in the United Kingdom for better part of 15 years. So he's in the driver's seat. The person he shoots is in the back passenger seat, and he's shooting like this. So if I'm sitting in the seat, I have to do a lot of physical gymnastics to get to that point. So I'm guessing he's shooting over his shoulder like this. There's a lot of time for his brain to process these things. And part of the problem I have with his decision making is this is going to be a really rough analogy, but if you decide to take a shit on the floor, it's not an instantaneous thing. You have a lot of time to evaluate what you're doing and how stupid this is. And in this instance, he has a lot of time getting the gun out of the holster, getting it out of the glove box, getting it out of the holster, turning around whilst loading the a bullet in the chamber. And then he starts firing. You got to figure at the very least 3 to 5 seconds. And if you count 1 to 5, that's actually quite a bit of time. And he thinks somebody's coming after him. So he even has time as he's turning around to see that there's nothing there. So is he that afraid of black people that he just is like, no, I'm going to shoot, just shoot now, ask questions later. And that's kind of the direction I think it is. And I don't think he appreciates what it means to have killed somebody. He seems to think that his poor decision-making is justification.
And then they start backing out. Do you continue to shoot through the window, or do you reposition yourself?
I don't recall, but I do remember getting out of my car and taking, getting sideways. Mm-hmm. And I was, waiting for the wink or...
Once again...
all this is
Okay.
Once again, if you think they have something, think they have a shotgun.
They had a shotgun.
He looks really stressed now. I think he realizes he is in a bad way right now.
You think they have a shotgun. You're going to get out of your car so they can get a good aim on you? Make any sense?
Well, at the time, I was doing everything on adrenaline and no.
But I'm just saying that we're trained to, if we think something is there, to get out of the way,
To get out of the way.
cover or concealment. So you're telling me that you thought they had a shotgun, but you got out of your car.
So let's make the argument that they maybe had something. You know, as a police officer, he's been trained to a greater degree than Michael Dunn, who has a license or permit to conceal carry. You can see there's a totally different decision-making process going on here, which makes me feel more comfortable with the detective having a weapon than Michael Dunn. So I have family that live in Florida, and when I go and visit them, because it's warm down there, I feel like there's a better chance with all the guns out there. I feel like there's a not too ridiculous chance. You know, if I got shot in Florida, it wouldn't be like the shocking story wouldn't necessarily me being shot in Florida. I think where else? There's no other place in the world that I would fully expect to be shot by somebody random. But it just goes to show that when you have people like Michael Dunn who have guns and you compare their decision making to that of the police officer, it's pretty obvious here to me. You know, he doesn't think like somebody who is trained to use a weapon, when to use it, when not to use it, and how to protect yourself, i.e. not expose yourself to the car that's running off.
So they would get a good aim at you is what you're telling me.
Well, I thought maybe they would shoot at the car and I wouldn't be in it.
So he thought they would shoot at the car, not at the big white guy with the gun. And to be fair, he's on adrenaline, not thinking clearly.
But your car's not shooting at them. You are. Why would they shoot at your car?
Yeah, they can't. So, honestly, sir, I'm at a loss to justify what I did on the second volley.
Right.
Other than to say I thought they were going to be shooting back, and I was keeping them from doing that.
I'm really torn between whether he really thought at the time they had a gun or whether he's got a temper and really just had enough. You know, if this was a moment of truth for him in his life where he was just done putting up with the shit that annoyed him. And I'm really torn with this because the more he talks, the more it makes me think he must have believed that they had something, or he's a cold-blooded killer. Now, I saw interviews with people that knew him. Quite a few people that said, yeah, he's a lovely guy. He had one neighbor who said he's an arrogant ass, and I'm not surprised. But I don't know that he had a history of you know, this type of behavior, which is where I'm trying to square it up here.
And I was in such a panic. Fear for my life, for the love of my life. That I didn't, you know,
after fear for the love of your life, what had they done?
Well, had they been out of their truck doing whatever to me when she came out, they would have, I just assumed.
Once again, we're acting off assumptions.
Because they weren't out of their truck.
They were not out of their truck.
The guy was coming out of his truck.
Yeah, the driver had gone in the store.
No, the guy that I was talking to, the one that I shot, he was coming out of his truck. That's when he said, "You're dead, bitch," and opened the door.
Now, they claimed, which I don't know if this was corroborated or not, that the child locks were on in the back seat, and there was no way he could have gotten out of the car. But again, I don't know. That's something you may want to look up. I'll try to look that up before the next time I go live.
Okay, and at that point, were you shot?
That's the point where I went and grabbed my gun.
Okay.
So he was getting out of the car, and that was the point he grabbed his gun. He reached across, grabbed his gun, unholstered it, was turning around. He must have seen that there was nobody out of the car because they pulled away quickly. He couldn't have been out of the car unless, I mean, the second the gun comes out, you know, they are going to flee. You know, he can argue that they stood there, but they didn't. They ran like hell. I mean, to be able to pull out, I think the fact that they pulled out as quickly as they did, or were able to pull out after the first 3 shots, means that they had time to process you know, what is he doing? He's going into his glove compartment. He's oh shit, he's got a gun. And they had the time to pull away. And I think he shot as they were pulling away. If you look at the it's difficult to say. I think they if you look at pictures from the actual the crime scene photos, they put the sticks to show what the angle of the bullet was, and it, you know, he's going to have an angle, but you could see the passenger door had an angle that was sort of back and not straight across from him. So they were pulling away before he actually, you know, fired at least the second volley. There was 3 volleys of bullets. I'm going to wrap up here in a bit, and we'll pick this up in another couple days. By the way, we'll do another 5 minutes.
Because I did, you know, everything's fine. They're just talking, and then all of a sudden.
So you get the gun, rack it, and then reassess?
No, I didn't reassess.
So you went, grabbed gun, rack, came up.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So you see him start to come out of the door of the truck. At that point, you turn to get your gun. Is that correct? You take it out of your glove box. You unholster it. You rack around, and you come back up on target.
Yes, sir. Fluid motion.
Okay. In the amount of time,
This guy is fucking Rambo.
he's starting to get out of the truck when you first start to go get your. But yet, by the time you come back and start shooting, he's still in the truck.
He's coming out. I think he saw what I was doing when it was running back in. I don't know.
So therefore, he's not a threat anymore. Well, we could argue that he genuinely thinks there's a gun. If we're going to make that argument, so he's going to shoot before he gets shot. So maybe he's going to fire from a covered position in his vehicle, which is a stretch. Well, it's a stretch given he had no gun.
But that's where I'm a little thrown off here. Okay, because he is sitting in the back seat of that truck when he is hit. Okay, because the bullet goes right through the door. 3 bullets went through that door. Okay, he wasn't hit standing outside the truck.
Oh no, I know I shot through the door.
Okay.
I think he's realizing that there's a lot of holes in his story, and again, as somebody who's not a body language expert, I don't know whether he's convinced himself that the story of him getting out of the car is true, and now he's starting to realize that actually the memory of events are a bit different than he's portraying.
So
Driving him back.
How's he getting out of the door if you're shooting through it? You're confusing us.
All right.
You're confusing us. So he's asking him to go back and reevaluate what he's saying, because it just does not jive with the evidence. He's not even saying I may be mistaken here, which of course he's not going to say that.
When the latch is coming off the door,
Mm-hmm.
that's when I went to do what I was doing with the gun. And when I came back, I'm firing.
When the latch is coming off the door?
No, when I got my gun out of the...
When you said earlier about that, when you see the latch, what do you mean by the latch coming?
Well, the door's opening, and he's stepping out.
Okay, so and he's stepping out.
Yes, and then
And you go and reach, but by the time you come back and come up just blazing, somehow he's still sitting in the truck.
Well,
So we could make an argument that he does get out to yell at the guy or to threaten him or whatever, punch him even. Let's say that. And I don't want to disrespect the person who's passed. I don't believe that's happened. But for the sake of this argument, yeah, it's feasible that he started to get out of the car and saw this lunatic grab a gun.
maybe I'm not as fast with the whole thing as I think I am, but it was...
Or maybe he wasn't getting out of the truck.
So he's making a concession that he may not be as fast as he claims to be, which doesn't help his case because it means he's got more time to litigate this in his mind.
No, absolutely he was.
Here's the other problem we have. The guy in the front seat, the front passenger seat, he sees you.
He has a perfect view of the whole thing.
Right.
So that's interesting. So I wonder if he's trapping himself here by saying, yes, he has a view of the whole thing.
His window's up.
Mm-hmm.
He sees you getting the gun. So why would he let his friend get out of the truck when he sees you getting the gun?
Pardon?
Why would he allow the victim to be getting out of the truck when he already...
I have no idea. I mean, I think the guy in the front was the reason.
You also know that it was 7:30, 7:45 p.m. and the Gates gas station has several customers in the parking lot and everywhere. And we've interviewed several people. This is the very first time that anyone has told us about anyone getting out of a truck.
And here's where I would have a question too: is you're saying you feel like you have a threat that this guy's got a shotgun in your view. Okay, so you think he's getting out of the car. Okay, so you turn to get yours. If he's unarmed, which he is, why is he going to be?
I don't know. Maybe
now
he thinks I'm unarmed. The sad fact of it is he's telling me he's going to kill me. You're dead, bitch.
Because you asked him to turn the radio down?
See, that's the part where I don't understand.
And you know what? And I'll tell you,
you're getting really agitated.
I understand it because believe me, we deal with guys who you ask them to turn their radio down, they would get out of the car and shoot you. We deal with those kind of dudes all the time.
Here's where I can almost bet you a year of my salary on. When you got into a confrontation with those guys, a man of your stature, if there was a gun in that truck, they would have shot you. They wouldn't have had to get out. They would have shot right through. They would have shot from the truck just like you were shooting from your car.
Yeah, I mean, given the time frame, if seeing the barrel is what precipitated him to get his gun, are they going to wait? You know, if the barrel that he claims to have seen is coming out, he shot. You know, he shot as he's getting the gun out of the glove box, the unholstering it, loading the chamber, turning around and firing over his shoulder at the back seat. The person that he claims is the aggressor.
Because you guys are, I mean, you're directly next to
They
each
have
other.
the beam on you. The truck is actually higher than your car.
I'm in front with the front passenger.
And we can tell you another thing from working murders in Jacksonville. People don't get out of the car to be seen when they're shooting someone. They're going to shoot you right inside that truck.
All right. He's getting out of his car. We're this close to each other. He was getting out of his car after repeatedly telling me that he was going to kill me. So, is he going to bite my ear off or shoot me with a shotgun? I wasn't too concerned about how he intended to do it.
Now, and I'll tell you this. We talked to the other guys in the car, and they will all tell us, that was his name, said, yep, didn't like the fact he told him to turn the music down. He wasn't happy about that. He didn't like the fact that some stranger is telling him to turn his music down. He's 17. He's a teenager. Okay, you know what teenagers are.
The fucking
They're
kid.
a little hard-headed sometimes, especially when they're out on their own. And did he throw some F-bombs at you? Basically tell you to go fuck yourself multiple times? Absolutely. They said, yep, he was jaw-jacking back and forth with that guy. But at no time did any of them say, well, okay, he did say he was going to kill him. Because it makes no sense, because what's he going to do? He's not armed.
So I'm going to end it there for today. But I think what they're saying, and you obviously can see it as well, but just to tie everything up, essentially, if he does not have a weapon at all, they know this. They're questioning the validity of whether he said, I'm going to kill that bitch, or kill whatever it was that he said. So they're challenging his memory on what he heard. I just find this really interesting because for me, this guy doesn't come across again as a cold-blooded killer, and I don't think he's used his gun before. And I don't know if he had a bad day or what. I think I'm struggling to understand whether he genuinely believes the story he's saying or he is lying. And again, this is where I'm not a body language expert. But he doesn't, there's nothing he's saying here that leads me to believe he was ever in danger to the point that he needed to pull a weapon and fire as many times as he did. I think that kind of goes without saying, but it's not looking good for him at this stage. And we know that, to be fair, we know that he is in jail now. But just looking at this in real time, I would be struggling with it as a detective. And if I was in his position, I would be thinking, yeah, this is not going well. This is not going well at all. I would be saying, look, I need to speak to a lawyer right now because I want to make sure that I'm giving you the correct information in the best possible way because I believe I was in danger. He doesn't say that. He keeps talking. So anyway, that's me done for today. Just something new I'm trying out. So tomorrow, I believe, yeah, it is tomorrow. Tune in. We're going to be doing one of our follow-up. So this is crime. We're going to be doing our superhero section tomorrow, following up on Superman 3 versus Superman 4. So please tune in to watch that. And I don't have a set schedule for doing these streams, just as and when I can, at least once a week, maybe twice a week. But I'm going to be continuing with this story, adding commentary throughout. I just find people fascinating, and especially when it comes to true crime, it's why people make the decisions they do. And I'm also fascinated at how the police go about doing their job, interviewing people, getting the information they need to get out of them to understand what happened. So if you do want to join in, subscribe to the channel, feel free to jump in and comment. There's nobody who's watched today. So if you are to make a comment, there's nobody else who's going to get through. So we'll make sure that you're part of that discussion. So again, please like and subscribe, and look forward to speaking to everybody soon. Take care.